podcast here, and we've got a great lineup for you today. So much action-packed. No, my mic is on. Check, check. Am I not being heard? Hold on.
And David's the most experienced guy here.
Yeah, it always helps when the microphone's on.
It's not his fault.
Good afternoon. This is David Zier. We're coming to you from the America First Warehouse just outside of New York City. Thank you for joining our weekly podcast here. And we have an action-packed show for you today because the next 2 months here at the America First Warehouse is just going to be unbelievable. Go to theamericafirstwarehouse.com. I want to welcome our panel today. We have Tom Weirman here, former New York State Assemblyman candidate, very active at Hillsdale College, big supporter of the America First Warehouse. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Dave.
Great to see you. And I see you sporting the shirt, the America First Warehouse. Check it out, everybody. And you can get their shirts online, right, Teresa Helfrich?
We sure can. How are you, everybody? Am I on? What's going on today? What are we doing here? Hello? I'm not on.
Okay. Yep, you're
Okay.
good, Teresa.
I don't know if you guys heard me. I'm sorry. We're doing very good. And yes, you can get these T-shirts at the America First Warehouse website and here in person when you're here for events. And since we're talking about shirts, well, let's introduce Steve first, and then we'll go to the shirts.
Yeah, we have just so much happening. And I just came off the road following Trump. We're going to get into that. And Steve Schmidt, the brains behind the operation here at the America First Warehouse. Steve, what's cooking?
Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, August 27th,
It's hard to believe.
2024, in the year of our Lord and Savior. Good morning, David. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
It's, well, to me, the real big news since we did this a week ago is the major endorsements that DJT has received, and certainly something I'd like to talk about at some juncture today.
Yeah, it's big stuff. RFK possibly, pulling the ticket over to Trump, especially in places like North Carolina, where he was actually allowed to stay on the ballot here. Before we get into today's topics, why don't we talk about some of the exciting things coming here to the America First Warehouse, Teresa?
Well, we are going to be super busy. I don't think I'm sleeping for the next 2 months. Hope you're all ready. So starting in September, looks like September 7th, we are going to be having an event. You can check the website for that. It looks like we're going to be doing a re-grand opening of our motor club that switched locations in our complex. And a car show that's not up yet, but keep your eyes out for that. And the 10th, we have the Trump-Harris debate night. We think that's going to be a huge event here. We had a really big event in June for that debate when it was Biden and Trump, so we're expecting a big turnout. We have a busy week that week. We have the 13th. It's going to be Rav Day. We have
Real
your
America's
family
Voice
coming
News
in for
coming
that
in.
day.
Yep, all day, full day of programming here.
Full day. We're going to start at 5 p.m. We're going to do. You have a.
Is the fashion show committee?
It is, but we got moved to the following week, so I'll
Okay,
get to that.
got
Yes,
it.
that was changed only because this week is so busy. So the Rav Day on the 13th. David's other family. They're going to be here 5 to 6 p.m. We're going to be
John
showing
Solomon, the War Room.
Studio 6B.
Yep.
We're going to have a Rav special. We're going to have a barbecue, and we're going to show Government Gangsters by War Room Films on that day.
Steve Bannon makes great movies and Government Gangsters. We hosted Kash Patel twice here at the America First Warehouse over the last couple of years in the adaptation of his book by Bannon's. They make great documentaries at
War
War
Room
Room
Films,
yeah.
right?
And we're going to show that here at the warehouse as well. And
That
then
night.
what do you have the next day? Something
The next
big.
day, we have a huge event with AMAC. They are the alternative to the woke AARP. So we'll have AMAC here with an awesome lineup. We have Peter Navarro, John Solomon, Lee Zeldin, Kirk Cameron was just added, Rebecca Weber. Who am I forgetting? And I heard from David that there's going to be more people coming that aren't even on the flyer yet. So that's an awesome event. We have a lot of people coming. You have any thoughts on that, Tom?
I just got to say, you
Tom's
could watch.
stuck on the Kirk Cameron thing, I think.
You could watch a lot of these events, online. That a lot of times we do live streams and all that. But it's so much different than just being here. It's just so much different. It's so much better. And if you've never been to the America First Warehouse, you absolutely have to come here because it's a place like none other in the country.
Yeah, make sure you sign up for our boot camp for boomers on September 13th. And they can find that through our website as well.
Yep, everything's under events. We have a whole bunch more. So you want me to come back to that at the end? And we'll not overwhelm
go
the
to the
guests?
America First Warehouse, theamericafirstwarehouse.com. Check it out while you're watching if you want. But Teresa will give all the details on everything. It's been an incredible couple of weeks. As for those of you who don't know, I am with the Real America's Voice News on the road following the Trump campaign for about 5.5 years. It's really moving at breakneck speed. And over the last 2 weeks, I was in Asheville, North Carolina, San Francisco of the Blue Ridge Bible Belt. It's gross. Homeless people, defund the police, reparations, all kinds of crap going on there. In the middle of beautiful Western North Carolina, Trump comes there, striking deep in the heart of blue territory, because around it's red, but Asheville's a blue area. And then I was in Asheboro, North Carolina last Wednesday, Trump's first outdoor rally since the assassination attempt. Vance was there as well. It was an epic day. Trump Force One came screaming by at 50 feet above the runway. Everyone went berserk. But that was really great because the people of Asheboro are hurting, and 41% are minorities, and we'll get into that later. Trump making a move for the black and Hispanic votes as well. But that area of North Carolina has been depressed because of tobacco and furniture companies, tobacco going out of business, furniture companies moving to China, Thomasville Furniture, Klausner Furniture. But there's also a lot of jobs there in the northern part by Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point, because North Carolina is a red state, and they're getting everyone from California and New York. And just to recap, I got on a plane and went to Vegas for Trump's no tax on tips. He proposed no taxes, Steve, on tips in June. Kamala copied it. But this union, I got to ask Trump a couple of questions at a presser on Friday out there. And the union, the Culinary Workers Union, mostly Democrats, 66,000 workers. They just negotiated a 40,000 employee deal to get the workers in Vegas a $25 an hour average to $36 an average cap over the next 5 years, a 42% increase in their wages. Union, very powerful. Leadership back in Kamala. But the rank and file knows that Trump is the one who offered no tax on tips. What do you say?
Well, it's my microphone is turned on, I believe, so it's consistent. I mean, the Democrat Party is really the party of the elitists, not the party of the people, and it is certainly the party of slavery and tyranny. So it's consistent with the notion of being, an oligarchy, having the ruling elite. You have the same thing with the UAW. The UAW leadership is supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, but the rank and file...
Teamsters too, Sean
Right.
O'Dwyer.
Right, and the rank and file is supporting Trump.
Steam fitters in New York, rank and file going for Trump.
I just want to ask the question. Oh, go ahead. Answer your.
please.
Well, just to go back to the Asheville one, right? That rally.
Yeah.
That was the outdoor one where didn't someone pass out for heat exhaustion and Trump came out behind the glass?
No, that was in Asheboro.
Oh,
so
that was in Asheboro,
Asheville
I'm
was
sorry.
indoors in a forum that
Right?
held 2,500 people, but there were like 7,000 people who showed up. It was a massive line, about a mile long, half a mile long. And Asheboro was outside, so which is the geographic center of North Carolina. It's a red area. He won by 77% in neighboring Stokes County as well. Trump won 10 out of 12 counties in the Piedmont Triad, which is Greensboro, High Point, and Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But I think he went there because there's 29% Hispanic and 12% black vote as well. And the people are living off their retirement, dipping into their 401ks to live because people can't keep up with inflation, Tom.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment about the unions, right? So union leadership, they typically go Democrat. Not all of them, as you mentioned, there are different unions that are starting to go, union leadership that's going Republican. But there was a time when the Democrat Party simply represented the regular guy, the working guy. Now, that's not the case. The Democrat leadership represents wokeism, and it's madness, and they don't represent the average person who is suffering under the inflation in a huge way.
Yeah, and the elitists are all driving $100,000 SUVs, the heads of the unions, too.
Right,
They don't
and
represent maybe the rank and file as much.
Now, this is not the This is not the JFK Democrats anymore. This is completely this is something completely different. And the regular union worker, who is just like you and me,
Yep.
they don't understand what's going on. They see people who are more concerned about transgenderism in schools than they do about a living wage. So whatever their leadership, whoever the leadership supports, honestly, it doesn't matter.
I don't think so
Because
either.
they just can recognize what's in their pocketbook. So
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But there is a little bit of sea change. And I asked Trump about it on Friday due to the fact that the union, even though they know it wasn't Kamala's idea, in Vegas, the service workers, where it's a 1-point differential back and forth between Kamala and Trump, largest union in the state, can influence the election, they're still going with Kamala, Teresa. It's unbelievable.
It's
and it was
maddening.
Trump's idea with the state GOP leader, Michael McDonald.
Yeah, well, I think she's going to see a lot of that copycat, platform that she's going to try to say now what Trump's been saying, because
Yeah,
It
so
makes
they're going to
sense and it's
shift to
common
the
sense.
right. I predicted
are.
this about a month ago after coming out of the RNC because it was such a success, Steve, that they're going to start doing like Chevys, apple pies, and
yeah,
cheerleaders
I think it's
and
going to get
sparklers.
American,
Right.
yeah, like
so
all the
what do you
Americana.
think, Steve? You think they'll continue on that and adopt some,
They're going to
I
try.
don't know, pro-business policies?
I mean, listen, they've engaged in the lies, deception, and corruption for so long. Why not just continue from that playbook? The DNC, as you said, was reflective of the Democrat Party being a culture of death today. And just as an example, right, we all know that they had the abortion truck
Yeah.
outside. Oprah Winfrey came out and said that without the right to abortion, the American dream is dead.
Oh,
right?
Oprah
Tom, what do
Winfrey.
you think of that? By
I
the way-
like the idea of Democrats getting vasectomies, by the way.
Me too. I was just going to say that. Don't procreate anymore.
So, Tom, knowing how strong you are as far as being pro-life, I'd love to get your take on that. And David, the Supreme Court decision with abortion was what, 73, 74, right? So I guess there was no American dream before that.
So there's been a real change in the last decade. There was a time where, people like Hillary Clinton would be, they would say it should be safe, rare when it comes to abortion, because abortion is a traumatic event. Now it's not about it being rare. It's about, hey, there's a truck. You want an abortion?
Yeah.
Go get it. What has happened to the mind of the people, some of the minds of the people in this country, where we're looking at the ending of a human life? And we have to be
Celebrating it.
clear on this. This is a human life. Conception happens, a heartbeat happens. It's human. And we treat it as it's not only just being treated as like something like, oh, it's an unfortunate situation. It's celebrated. Have an abortion and they feel great about it. Something is really off. Honestly, we need God back in this
That's what
nation,
it
guys.
is.
We really
And
do.
Tom, right? The fact that it's a life in the womb is biblical.
Yes, it is.
But you don't even have to be a Christian to identify
No.
that it is a human life.
Yes.
This is scientific.
Science.
And in
This is-
Minnesota,
Real science.
Tim Walz supports, full-term abortions, which
Yeah.
is pretty incredible.
I have no words. I'm sorry. It gets me so mad. This is to answer your question, Tom. My belief is, I know what happened in the '60s, but when Barack Obama came in and they did this big push to take God out of things, to me, the devil slipped right in,
And
and
a
this
baby
is evil.
can live outside the womb after, during a 5-month pregnancy or less. Some of it with medical help, but other times 5, 6, 7 months, a baby can live on its own.
Yeah, there's a
you know.
push after our kids. I mean, in every
Look,
facet.
When you have Democrat leaders who cannot say, look, I believe abortion is wrong from the get-go. But when you have Democrat leaders who can't even say that, hey, from month 6 on, we should ban this, when they're okay with babies' limbs being torn off, they feel it. They literally feel. This is not. I'm not trying to say this to be, just trying to like an explosive thing to say here. I'm talking like this is literally the truth, and they
Scientific
are okay
evidence.
with this. Tearing of limbs off, the crushing of skulls, sucking the brains out.
Right.
This is wild stuff. Like if we keep electing the people who have this type of mentality, we're just going down a wrong societal path right now. It's tough.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. The debate is coming up. They're hiding Kamala in the proverbial basement. I hear she's struggling now in the debate prep, and that's why they're causing all kinds of last
You're kidding.
chaos.
She's struggling in
Yeah,
debate prep.
yeah.
I mean, she
What do you
can't
guys
remember
think?
facts and figures.
No,
she doesn't have
she
an
doesn't have any.
economic plan. She doesn't have a foreign policy plan. She can't defend any of her positions because she doesn't have a true position that's not dictated to her by somebody else.
But
Is that
other
why
than
she's
that,
having
she's
trouble?
good.
That's why, Tommy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I am heading out tomorrow to Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin. near
Don't
the
forget to bring
Minnesota
us some
border.
cheese back with you.
Oh my God! If I eat one more cheese curd, I'm gonna die. But it's hard to eat healthy.
I keep asking to go with him. He doesn't take me. It's fine. I'm getting over it.
Trump force.
It's the food's so great out there, but you eat some curds and you can't move for a week.
Should we take a quick break?
Yeah. Well, we're over on our segment. Yeah, I want to get back into that because I'll be on the road, and I wanted to talk about Trump on the road in the battleground states. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the America First Warehouse weekly podcast.
Yes.
Me as Hercules facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. But today I'm stepping into a different role, not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you, ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
The America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Welcome back to the weekly podcast of the America First Warehouse. We got a great crew for you today with Tom Weirman, Teresa Helfrich, Steve Schmidt. I'm David Zier, and we were just talking about the presidential race. It's only about 72 days away or so. It's right around the corner. Early voting starts in some areas in less than 40 days. Very crazy because I feel like they're hiding Kamala in the basement and a proverbial basement, and there's not going to be a lot of time for people to digest how informed she actually is. Teresa, what do you think?
How informed she is or how informed she
How
isn't?
she isn't.
I think personally, I think at this point, and I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now, if you don't know who you're voting for by now, I don't really believe the next 2 months are going to make much of a difference as far as people's opinion and what they're going to vote for.
What about their pocketbook? What if oil
Oh.
goes to $100 a barrel on October 20th and half the country
Well,
voted
then I
already?
want to hope those people who are on the left will come.
Can't take it back.
You can't take it back. I mean, I just feel like we're at the point now with what we've seen the last almost 4 years that you gotta. I think people know who they're going to vote for. I hope they come to our side. I can't imagine anyone voting for the left right now, but I mean, everybody I know is very set in their vote. So
I know I'm traveling all over the
you
country.
see more than us.
And I'm in the airports, and I see all the liberals. You always know.
But don't you think
tell.
they're becoming a little more like able to speak? Like I feel like people are coming around a little bit. Like you have to know something's wrong. Do you see that?
What do you think, Tom?
You know, you have the hardcore left, the communists, the radical progressives. They're not going to
Or
change.
the elitists?
Or the elitists.
Right,
They're
they're
not
not.
going to change. But you do have just like the regular Democrat who may be a social liberal, but maybe more of a fiscal conservative, and maybe just didn't like Trump's personality and would just vote for for the Democrats. Those are the people that I'm really curious about, because if they're just like us economically, they are suffering. I really wonder, and if they're seeing like, and what I don't know if anybody saw RFK's speech where he was endorsing Trump, and he talked about the absolute outright corruption of the Democrat Party and how they stole. They stole the ability of the Democrat people, the constituents, the ability to vote for who they wanted to
And
represent
that holds
them.
weight. You're coming from a Democratic family, like with his. That holds weight. I feel like, right? Coming from.
It should.
Yeah. So they are the enemy of democracy. They always talk about saving our democracy. And Tom, you're right. So look at what they did with RFK, trying to keep him off the ballot.
No Secret Service.
Excuse me,
right?
Jill Stein in Wisconsin, Cornel West. They don't want these people on the ballot. They don't want the voters to be able to make the decision, right? Again, this is consistent with them being such an elitist party. Excuse me. So they are truly the enemy of democracy.
Yeah, I was in Las Vegas covering Trump in a small venue before he was getting on a plane to go to Glendale. Everybody was waiting to see what RFK Jr. would do, and I was about 8 feet from Trump in the front the whole time, and he was speaking at a restaurant called Il Toro e la Capra. I mean, it's the Bull and the Goat. It's a Hispanic-owned restaurant. Trump making big inroads with Hispanics, another 10% over last time. Blacks, 7% over last time. Right now, maybe more. But, you know, he makes this great speech about no taxes on tips and everything, and everyone's waiting. So right before he came on, RFK Jr. wrapped up. And I asked Trump, after he was done speaking to the crowd, a question about RFK, because North Carolina's unaffiliated voters, right? 46%, 45% of the unaffiliated voters are under 35 years old. 30% are Republicans. 36% total are unaffiliated voters. That's going to make the difference in North Carolina. 160,000 more Republicans than the last election in North Carolina, but there's 430,000 more unaffiliated. So I asked him if he felt that RFK coming over, where RFK says I came out with the endorsement at the time I did, because 57% of my voters are going to go to Trump. Is that going to be enough to push Trump over the top, Steve?
If this was, if we have a fair election, if we have election integrity, Trump is over the top already, and this makes it a significant landslide. Look, there's three key things. We've talked about immigration, the economy, national security, but there's three key things that RFK Jr. spoke about that resonate with a lot of voters, right? And one of them is with respect to healthcare overall and the corruption in the public health and food agencies, bureaucracies. The other thing is with Ukraine, and then the last thing that he spoke about was that aligned was the corruption with the whole electoral process and the weaponization of the government, right? It's anti-free speech and is pro-censorship. So those are three things that will draw more voters. I have zero doubt about that.
So I want to agree with you 100% here, and here's why. Listen, you could hear Trump speak, and honestly, for a lot of people, it's just white noise at this point. There's nothing really fresh coming out of him. You know, listen, we had the no tax on tips, but you got a lot of people who just don't like Trump, and he's not going to really attract any more voters on his own. These new, fresh voices that are coming to support him, RFK is highlighting things that people weren't hearing about from anybody. Right. We weren't talking
because
about.
He wasn't given the platform.
Right, he was not given the platform, and now he has a platform. I'm still not sure they're going to give him the platform on, CNBC or MSNBC or the others.
Never.
But I think what he's pointing out, and this is where social media and X are coming into play in a big way, where we didn't have this before. And even Zuckerberg is now admitting, Zuckerberg is admitting that the Biden administration forced them or pressured them to shut down, to put censorship on these kind of ideas. But these fresh ideas that Trump couldn't really relay himself are now being put out there. And I think that could really turn some people. I'm hoping, but him now, Tulsi Gabbard just got endorsed Trump. Elon, this is different now. This is a unity party, which is not a uniparty, but a unity
party.
And you have
Huge.
RFK's Nicole Shanahan.
Oh, right.
his running mate coming out for Trump, Democrat, big Silicon Valley person
Yes.
and investor.
That was more surprising.
And that
to
was
me.
great. And
Yes.
she talked about how her parents were and people were rounded up by Mao
Right.
in China. And that's
Right.
what we're facing here. This is a Democrat saying that.
Tulsi Gabbard endorsed Trump, and that was largely based on national security, peace and prosperity. With RFK, the thing is that so we don't have to agree with him on everything, including the Second Amendment, but you have to respect, he is such a rare breed, you have to respect his intellect, and even more than that, his intellectual honesty. And that's what's desperately needed, putting principle over the pursuit of money and power, which has consumed much of the ruling elites in both parties.
You know, and you could be, a radical Democrat or have his views all you want. But at the end of the day, I find it very interesting when it comes to RFK Jr., because Trump has said when he comes into office, he'll unseal the JFK files. And when you're a Kennedy and your uncle and your father were assassinated by the deep state, no one wants retribution more than he does. And I think there's also other things underlying that are going to be real interesting to see play out.
I mean, I don't know that he'll be put in a position where he can, have retribution. I see him more as like a health and human services secretary.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's really where I see him. But like when you hear him speak, you're like you said, Steve. You may not agree with everything, all of his political positions, but you look at the guy, and this guy seems to actually care. When
Yeah.
he's talking about the children of the country and the health epidemic that most people simply don't know about, because all the messaging we hear is from big agriculture, big pharma, and so on and so forth. We don't know the devastation of what's going on in our country regarding to health. I mean, he points out that in the entire world, we have the highest cost of health care by double, more than double than the
Of
next
Europe.
closest nation.
More than double of Europe,
It's
too.
incredible.
And the sickness is double.
We're spending over we're spending about 4.3, over 4 trillion, 4.3 trillion, Tom, right? And he said we have like the worst outcomes, particularly in terms of chronic disease.
He said that we could, with the money we're spending on in big pharma, we could feed every family with organic food 3 meals a day. Think about that for a minute. It's just incredible
Amazing.
stuff.
And I agree with you. I just mean that he understands how evil and deep the syndicate goes.
Well, think
the
about
top.
who Trump is starting to
That's what
surround
I'm saying.
himself, right?
It's a big deal.
You got Trump who ran the first time on taking down the deep state. Wasn't able to do it, but he didn't have the right people behind him.
That's right.
You got Vivek Ramaswamy, who wants to take down the three-letter agencies. You got Elon Musk, who's probably one of the most powerful voices in the world. He wants to take down censorship. You got, and you got RFK looking to go after big pharma. And look, we can't sit here and say big pharma is bad in all cases. They've done some good things throughout history, but there's also a lot of money at stake,
Yeah.
and there's been a lot of corruption, and nobody's been prosecuted dollar-wise more than big pharma.
Well, you have other people coming out for Trump as well, which is really crazy that it's not getting more national attention. David Sachs, another Silicon Valley investor,
Wow.
comes out for Trump. But then you have Howard Lutnick. I spent time with Howard Lutnick years ago, devastated by 9/11, ran Kenneth Fitzgerald, lost 650 or so employees in 9/11. Big Democrat, supported Obama. He supported Hillary Clinton. But now, and like he said, when he took the stage introducing Trump at a rally recently, we have to crush the global jihad. I'm voting
Wow.
for Donald Trump. And this is big Wall Street money. Other Wall Street people have come to Trump as well.
And I think you're going to see more come out in the next month or so.
Well, Lutnick actually held a fundraiser about a month ago at his home in the Hamptons for Trump, where they raised tens of millions.
So this is David. That's a very good point, and really it illustrates that this is not a conventional election of the Democrat versus the Republican. There are people that are realizing that there is so much more at stake, and that this is on one side the increase in tyranny and this rapid slide to totalitarianism versus essential liberty. And some people realize that the stakes are too high for them to be tethered to political party affiliation alone.
Steve, the tyranny, the measures towards tyranny was always small little increments that most people couldn't see in the past. Over the last 4 years, what we're seeing is a major attempt, a major grab by the deep state, by the elites in Washington, by the non-freedom loving people to really just take complete control of the people. We're seeing it in Europe right now. Europe is basically shot. They're gone. I mean, they can't speak. They can't say anything anymore without fear of being put in jail. So I'm hoping and praying that, like, the independent-minded person who's not a Republican, who's not a Democrat, but just has an
Common sense.
common sense person can see what is actually happening out there, and if they see it, Trump's going to win.
And that's why I like to call this the Great Awakening.
You know, it's interesting. RFK Jr., I think, told Tucker Carlson that he would take the CIA post, CIA director.
I heard that too, and that's why I think this could be very interesting, how this plays out with Kennedy.
Yeah, for sure. I am going to head to La Crosse, Wisconsin, as I was saying earlier. Wisconsin is like +1 for Kamala Harris in an aggregate of the Real Clear Politics polling. The polls are skewed in the sense that they're sampling less Republicans.
Oversampling.
But historically, they've been pretty good. And I followed them very closely. Michigan and Wisconsin are concerning for me still. And, you know, and there was definitely corruption in Wisconsin and Michigan. And so if it's close, I'm afraid
Isn't
they're going to
Michigan
steal it again.
early voting first? Didn't Dr. Tarver say that last night? Michigan's the first early voting in
Yeah.
about a month from now.
Yeah,
That's
it's coming.
scary.
It's right
My
around
daughter
the corner.
goes to school in Michigan, and
Oh,
she is
right.
changing her voter registration to Michigan.
Yeah.
So we got to do whatever we
So
can.
David, Michigan
Good.
is a huge concern. They
Smart.
you know, it just came out that with election watchers that there were like 700 Republicans
only hired
that
50.
applied. They hired 50
Out of 2,300 posts.
right. So they had like 2,300 approximately.
So they were only
2,400
asking for it to go
Democrats.
3-1.
Right.
Democrats or Republicans, and they only got 50.
But-
It's 98% Democrats for the election watchers. What could go wrong with that?
If
This is
you're-
in Wayne County, where
Yeah,
Detroit is
Detroit.
in.
Scary. But if you're a candidate, aren't you allowed to have, I don't think there's a limit. You're allowed to have people at every poll, right? If you're a candidate. So on top of the ones hired, you can
And
have
there's
your own.
500 lawyers they've assembled nationwide.
Oh,
but,
wonderful.
But I think that the big steal is on in these inner cities again. So Trump is going to have to
Absolutely.
win by a lot. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us at the America First Warehouse, and we got some great topics ahead for you.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, many of you remember me as Hercules, facing incredible odds for the world that he cherished. But today, I'm stepping into a different role. Not as a mythical hero, but as a fellow American. I'm inviting you to embark on a mission crucial to our nation's future. At this pivotal moment, America stands at a crossroads. Our unity, values, and vision for tomorrow are being tested. It might seem like the weight of the world is too heavy for one person to lift, but history shows us that it's the courage of individuals that has always illuminated the path forward. The call for heroes is more urgent than ever. Not the mythical ones, but real-life individuals like you, ready to uphold what's right, champion truth, and unite in protecting our beloved nation. This is your moment. Your journey as a modern-day hero starts right now. Stand with AMAC and let's show the world the power of true heroism in action. Visit amac.us/hero to join AMAC. Be the hero our country needs.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
The America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Welcome back. You're watching the America First Warehouse weekly podcast here. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com for all the latest and greatest and best events going on nationwide. And we're going to be hosting a lot of events here that are pertinent to the national elections, the general election. Only about 70 days away from this point. And the America First Warehouse has an action-packed agenda, right, Terry?
We do. And when we get to the end, I'll go over the rest of the events. But we do have things that are important. Tom Homan will be here talking about the border. Professor Clements will be here talking about the election integrity on top of everything else. So, yes, we have fun stuff and educational stuff coming down the pike.
Yeah. I will be heading to Washington, D.C. on Friday to cover the Moms for Liberty National Summit in Washington, D.C. Trump will be making
You will. I'm
comments
sad
there.
I'm not going now.
Friday night, Trump's coming in to speak, and they made a lot of progress. So, Tom, what do you think? Is there a chance for Donald Trump here in November?
Listen, I think if you were to guarantee me that there's no cheating going on anywhere, I'm saying the guy's winning without question. But and I know some people are going to give me a lot of flack. I absolutely believe there was cheating in the last election. Just because you can't prove it in a court doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Well, that's what happened in Nevada. So there was like 4 different things: voter rolls, ghost rolls, or ballot harvesting, stuff like that. The courts didn't say it wasn't true. They just said they couldn't. That the people who claimed it couldn't prove it.
Well, listen, the fact of the matter is that there have been cases where people have been convicted of voter fraud. Now, if you have one person who's done voter fraud, I really doubt that they're the only one that's done voter fraud, that there are other people who are doing voter fraud that just haven't been
Yes,
caught.
but one person, one fraudulent vote, though, this is what drives me crazy. One fraudulent vote means it's fraudulent. And recount, I don't care if it's 1 or 10 million. And we know that there's fraudulent votes because we've seen the algorithms and the stuff that New York Audit has done here.
Listen, I had an opportunity to speak to President Trump separately, privately. And one of the
these
things...
guys, they don't invite me for this stuff. You guys
Well-
get the picture yet? Okay.
So he asked us, he asked me and a couple other guys, what do you think? What do you think's going to happen here? And we just said, look, we think you could win, but we're just worried about the rigging. And what did he say? He said, we need to make it too big to rig. We need that independent vote.
We do.
We really do.
We need every
that
vote.
independent vote to see what they voted for last time didn't work, and they need to make a
Yep.
change.
And I'm going to say this every episode until it gets to be too late with the deadline. I just had sent the link up to my son at college and made sure all your college kids are going back to school right now. You need their vote. If they're voting for Trump, make sure you order or request an absentee ballot, which I don't love, but I still want the votes in for the college kids.
And Steve, what are you thinking?
What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Well, David, I'm thinking that carbon dioxide is not toxic to humans, and that's just another. The whole EV thing is another
can't.
scam perpetrated by the left.
Sure
Well,
is.
even Musk said, that we still need
Something
oil.
random.
You still need oil, and Trump pointed out in the very pragmatic interview with Elon Musk that if we go AI, which may have pluses or minuses for us as a civilization, that you need to triple the electric grid in order to accommodate it, and you need fossil fuels to do that. And underneath any electrical grid, you have to have a conventional fossil fuel-based system with natural gas cycle combustion, and you also need oil under it, because the renewables only work 8 hours a day, and we won't have battery storage for 50 years, at least. So
we've hit this before, right? But wind and solar, it's such a
Detriment to
it's not, they're not environmentally friendly.
No.
EV cars, you're moving the pollution from the car to somewhere else. It's not earth friendly in terms of the amount of earth that's displaced to do the mining. It's like 500,000 pounds of earth displaced for every EV car battery.
Yeah.
And you look at solar, you look at the wind farms. There was something that I read recently that those blades that are like several hundred feet long, where people are like, okay, where are those going now, right?
Yeah.
So none of this is environmentally friendly, and the thing is that it is another hoax. The whole
Well-
climate change, global
It is.
warming. By the way, CO2 cools off very rapidly, right? Science shows that CO2 does not, if it's warm out, CO2 cools quickly as the normal air does. So
One-
again,
There's a place for it. You have to know where it is. And, about 12 to 15% of the energy in Iowa comes from windmills and renewable energy. Here on Long Island,
it doesn't need to.
Here
though.
on Long Island, solar is important in the aspect that when we have a lot of hurricanes and storms. So if you have 10% of the grid, and this was part of the feed-in tariff mandate it was one of the good things that Cuomo did when he was governor, one of the very few. But it plays a role in when you have peak load demand after a hurricane and everybody turns on their power at the same time, the substations get overloaded and they break, and these parts take a long time to come in. A lot of porcelain, a lot of stuff like that. But if you backfeed the grid from a solar farm, say, you are able to sustain when everybody, again, turns on their power. But the disposal and the real cost of renewables, it's about 42 cents a kilowatt in Europe right now. We produce energy for 12 cents a kilowatt in fossil fuel. So there's a factor that's many times higher.
So
for
right,
renewables
David.
too.
So for supplemental use,
Supplementary.
Yes. When you talk about for primary energy output, the cost of solar, wind, and the energy output per square foot, compared
It's about
to
9 times that of conventional energy when you add in all the infrastructure costs.
go nuclear.
One
You
of-
know, though,
oh.
I'm for all of the above. I'm for solar. I'm for fossil fuels. I'm for nuclear. I'm for it all. And you make the choice. Let the market determine what's going to be the most effective way we get energy, and leave it at that.
Right.
Less regulation. Because listen, they want to. I agree with you wholeheartedly, though. The whole idea that fossil fuels are causing this global warming is so ridiculous. And let's just say, they talk about
Coming
ice
from the
caps
people who take a
melting and
private
everybody's
jet.
going to be flooded and all that type of stuff. That is absolute worst case scenario that even the big time anti-fossil fuel scientists would say that's got a snowball's chance in hell, no pun intended, with what we're talking about, of actually happening. So
And-
this is much to do about nothing, but it's a cult, right?
It
And
is.
when you keep hitting it harder and harder and harder, and what does it really ultimately do? It's centralizing power to the elite.
Of course, that's what they
That's
want.
what this is really about.
Well, Elon Musk talked about nuclear favorably, and he said he just delivered a water plant to Fukushima, which had a devastating nuclear accident after the earthquake. But he said they're doing well, and he actually ate crops that were grown in Fukushima recently.
Yeah. So, David, listen, why do I harp on this? Because you cannot have a civil society and widespread prosperity without abundant food and energy. And that is what is under attack from the left. And I submit that is one of the key pillars that's on the ballot this November. If you vote for Harris and Waltz, okay, they will take us back to the Stone Ages with respect
It's
to
insane.
energy, the attack
Yeah,
on energy.
even our stoves, our ovens, they want to be able to shut that stuff off
think
on us and
what's-
control it.
I think what's more important about this whole thing is that we produce more oil than ever right now. We're about 13.5 million barrels a day. But if Trump was president, we'd be putting out about 16 to 17 million barrels.
And
of
why
oil
is that?
together.
Because we have liquid gold under our
Well,
feet?
because listen, there's no capital expenditure going into oil. Because of the government mandates, these companies aren't doing technological research. They're not investing in more oil exploration like they used to be, because most of the investment worldwide has gone into solar and to wind. The problem is that the U.S. is still dependent on foreign oil. And without that extra 3 or 4 million barrels a day, we have a national security problem.
Yes. Yeah, well, the price is high right now. And listen, we are pumping a decent amount of oil right now. But like you said, our current price is based on future ability to extract out of the ground. If they cannot, if they plan on, we can't get more oil out of the ground, right now is when they have to bring the prices up, and that will continue. This is a real issue because it's hurting us. I mean, it's our grocery bills are higher because the cost to transport them. Just for us to drive to the
Wait
supermarket.
until the Suez Canal's closed with the fighting in the Middle East, right? It's going to go to $100+ a barrel again.
And they don't want that. They want us to have it drop before the election so they can say they helped lower gas. We know the playbook. It's ridiculous.
Well, you think they would have been done with doing it? I don't think they can at this point.
No, Israel has taken the gloves off with Hezbollah. They had a massive operation.
And
Preemptive strike,
Didn't they
yeah.
just get another hostage today, though? I just
Yeah,
heard
they
before we
rescued
came on.
another
Thank God for that.
hostage. And I couldn't I couldn't understand the family, and I interviewed them in Wisconsin, and they're Democrats, and their son Hirsch was kidnapped, and they're speaking at the DNC. It made my stomach turn.
It's nauseating.
Right?
It is.
Ha-
It honestly
Steve,
is.
you saw that, right? The
It's-
family of the American hostage taken by
we've-
Hamas.
yeah. So, David, we've said this over and over, right? It's just staggering the extent to which people will unwittingly vote against their own self-interest and values.
It's like
Woke
they double
mind
down.
virus. Woke mind virus. I mean,
It is. It's derangement.
You know, you don't want to. You say that in jest a little bit, but it almost appears like there's something that is.
No, I mean it.
captivated
I
their
really do
mind.
think there's an honest arrangement.
Is it a
I mean
precursor for monkeypox?
It must be, which I won't even. I just want to let you all know. I might put the word out again. I'm not even acknowledging anything they try to throw at us between now and November. I don't care if you have COVID .15. I don't care if you have monkeypox. I don't care if you have snake flu. I don't care what it's called. Don't even tell me you have it. I won't even acknowledge
But
it.
Teresa, if they start imposing mandates
I
of
will
any
not
kind,
even acknowledge it
you
for
won't.
a half a second.
You won't. But neither will I, and I don't think neither any of us.
Well, I'm
will.
going to go
half
out there
the
and encourage
country
people
will.
But
again.
what will the rest of the country do?
I
Will
really
they bend
think
down again?
I think more than half won't this
Bend
time.
over.
I'll tell you why. I will
Bow
tell you
down.
why. A lot of people who are like-minded to us, who followed a lot of the stuff last time, have already told me, people in my own family, I will never comply again. Even my parents, I will
Yeah.
not wear a mask. I will not get a vaccine. They won't do it. They just won't do it. And they did it last time. So I do think there's a shift in that.
I think
God
that
willing.
David is only invited onto Trump Force too because of his
Biting
unbelievable humor. His humor. He keeps everybody.
Got good looks.
Sometimes Dave gets on a roll, and it's
yes,
great.
David. And I saw and when you were asking Trump that question on Friday, I saw the back of your head, that beautiful head, that big,
me.
beautiful head, as Trump would
My
say.
mother said
can't
I
wait
had
to
a
see
face
that.
for radio, so always keep your back to the camera.
I don't believe that.
David keeps.
I
him
will say
laughing.
though, when you guys were talking about the gas and stuff before, first of all the people that scream, I just gotta say this, it was on my mind. All the people that scream about, the Green New Deal and energy and all that, they all live on waterfront properties. They all drive private jets just to go have a meeting to tell us how we should live our life with this stuff. Trying to get rid of, ovens in New York
they whip
City.
out the Suburban
Could you
when
imagine?
it's 20 below because their electric car
Of
won't
course,
work.
it's like insane that people even believe this. I actually saw a thing on social media.
Houses use 20 times more energy than the
That's what I'm
average person.
saying. And I did see this, and this just to show how the stupidity behind it. There was a picture I had saw on social media. It was where you plug your cars in for electric cars with generators behind it. And what fuels the generator? I pulled my kids over to my phone and said, guys, I just want you to understand what's stupid about this. And my kids knew. They knew. Because the gas has to fill the generator. That could have went right in the car that you were trying to charge. Sorry, rant over.
No, I appreciate that insight because it's common sense, but a lot of people don't have common sense anymore.
Scary.
So before we have closing comments by each of us here, Border 911 is actually rescheduled for September 28th. Is
It
that right?
is. It is. It's rescheduled. We're very excited. The Holman team will absolutely be
Sarah
here.
Carter, Tom Holman.
Yep. Derek Maltz.
Derek
right?
Maltz is
And
great.
Yeah. They're coming. They're excited. It was an unfortunate thing, just circumstantial that we had to reschedule it. So they will be here on the 28th. That's for sure. Great barbecue with that. And before that, you want me to go before that yet?
Yeah, just
right.
tell us, tell
So
our
we-
viewers how they can get involved.
Yeah, so we ended off before with we have a bunch of events coming up. We have a car show, we have a debate night, we have AMAC here, we have RAV coming. We said that all earlier in the
October
show.
1st, Vance versus Waltz.
Yep. Then we go into October. We have
Debate
a bunch
watch party.
debate watch party. I think these parties are going to be very electric here. We have a lot of fun stuff going on. The 17th we have a patriotic fashion show. Believe it or not, there are designers that will not go into the city now because the city is too woke, which I love hearing. So we're going to try to do something different and fun here, mostly for the ladies, but great night that night. The 21st, we have Mordecai Mission. It's our third summit, and that's picking up really big. So we have that. The 28th, we have Tom Holman. The 1st, we have the VP debate. The 4th, we're going to have Professor Clements here. Then we have a music showcase on the 19th of
When is
October.
David Clements coming?
He's coming on the 4th, October 4th.
Wow.
That'll be a, it'll
He's
start
great.
with an intro.
I
It'll
met
be-
him 4 years ago at the Cyber Symposium in South Dakota.
He's so cool. I talked to him on the phone. He's so down to earth. He was a former senatorial candidate. He was a DA, I think, in New Mexico, and a professor. Walked away from a career that he loved to talk up. He realized how the elections were fraudulent. So he's on a mission now to get people educated. So on the 4th, you will see him here. It'll be an introduction. We'll show his movie, Let My People Go. There'll be a Q&A, and then there'll be a 25-minute training that he'll be teaching people. So that'll be a nice night with him. And just to wrap up that stuff, and besides, November 5th, amazing election party. Both of our locations will be open, the Motor Club and the Warehouse. We have entertainment in both, so stay tuned for that. A lot of great things happening.
Packed schedule. Packed schedule.
I'm not sleeping the next 2 months. It's fine. But I do want every week we are going to feature one of our products for you guys to see. Right now here we have One Nation Under God. That's what this means. It's a good conversation piece. People look at it and they're like, wait, God, One Nation. It's a great thing. They're $30 each on our website or here in person, 2 for $50. They come in black or red. And then we have a women's cut V-neck also. So you have two options. Both
Oh,
come in.
that's sharp.
Yeah, nice shirt. Has our logo on it. Has a flag for America First. And we would like to see more people in this because it sends a beautiful message. So check that out on our website.
Steve, you have any closing thoughts for today
Well-
and everything that's going on?
Yeah. So, Teresa, that was a great summary, and the common thread there is education, knowledge, truth. You can't have freedom without truth.
And
We're do-
fellowship, right?
Yes,
And
fellowship.
keeping our guests sane until the election with some things to do here.
So you can't have freedom without truth, and we're doing our part there. And folks, keep in mind that what's really on the ballot, ultimately, you want to say it's tyranny, totalitarianism. It's ultimately communism versus essential liberty. Again, do your part to influence others so that they choose wisely.
Tom, what do you think about that?
So, the football season's about to start, and when I think about football, let's go Jets. By the way,
I second that.
When I think about football, you got to think about a nice to coach, right? So, it was the fourth quarter. It was crunch time. We're in the fourth quarter right now. It's crunch time.
We're in overtime right now.
All right. The thing is, we can't just depend on the coaches to make all the decisions. The players have got to do what they need to do, and we're the players now. Trump is the coach,
Yep.
right? But he could only just say, "Here's what my message is." We have to be able to actually put that message out there, whether it be social media. We can't depend on the PACs or the super PACs
Offense
or
and
just
defense,
the Trump
right?
campaign. We've got to do it. But the thing is, we can't be so radical about Trump where we are disrespectful to the other side. We'll become white noise. We have to be logical. We have to be caring. We have to just point out
I can't
what's
do
obvious.
any of
I
that.
can't.
I can't
I
do
don't,
any of that.
I
I'm
feel like
sorry.
Tom is looking later on. He's gonna text me. He's gonna be like, "I know I was talking to you, T. I know it.
Well, T,
I'm
every
radical."
time you put some of those special words out there on social media, I'm like, T, you can't say
I
that.
know I get yelled at for my foul
But,
mouth.
but
I'm
seriously,
sorry.
though,
I tried.
If we want to influence the vote, then we're going to have to speak logically and in an understandable way where we just point
it
out.
does, it does work, and it does resonate with people. Over
It
the
does.
years, I've been to the right of Attila the Hun since I'm 13. Oh my God, how old am I? 40-something
only
years
40,
ago.
right? I thought.
Yeah. But I've converted people, and I've had many people, who and sometimes it took a couple of years, but where they admit, oh my God, I just bought a business, because a liberal is a conservative who's never been mugged.
That's right.
Right.
That's
so,
right.
they figure it out. They know that like people like us are always informed, are always on point. We're not watching Oprah Winfrey. We're not watching The View. We are the people who are the messengers and the harbingers for all this, right?
We are the news. That's right.
Not that we're self-important, but it's like, wake up. You just want to shake people. I want to shake people on the plane next to me,
I
reading
do
the New
have
York
to
Times.
say that though. Like my dad made a comment to me last year, like, Teresa, you're a bit radical. And I said, Dad, I don't want to be this radical, but they're so radical and we have to counteract it with our fight. And I will tell you that I've been on a real big journey the last 4 years as a grassroots activist, where people in the beginning shunned me. They didn't like now people that were against me are liking my posts now. They're starting to get it. They say, I've seen you. You haven't stopped in 4 years. And I think after a while, people start to think like, wow, they're so emphatic. They keep going. Her message has been clear. She's been fighting the same way. I think I might have changed some minds too, and I think we all should not discount ourselves in our messaging and what we do.
So
Keep showing
Your
up.
homework assignment for watching this today is to go out and get 2 people
Yes, keep
to
showing
vote
up.
for Donald Trump, even if you have to sleep outside
Yes.
on that
and,
porch.
And I want to say, people come in here. We're giving a lot of tours lately, and I get a lot of this. People walk around in amazement. Again, if you haven't been here, it's amazing. And people tell me every day, I'm afraid. I'm afraid to put my flag out. I'm afraid to wear my Trump shirt. I'm afraid to put a sticker on my car. Be not afraid. The Bible tells you to
Especially
be
in
not
Long
afraid.
Island.
Be not afraid.
Yeah.
I take a lot of risks with my Trump stuff. That's what the left wants. If all of us have Trump stuff on our bodies, on our cars, at our house, where they're going to come after all of us, don't be afraid. It's time to be bold and take a stand.
Courage is
All
contagious.
right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Saturday at 8 a.m., check out Breaking Point on Real America's Voice News. I will be bringing you coverage of Man on the Streets I did in Las Vegas with the lieutenant governor, with the county chairs for Clark County, Nevada, in play for the Republicans. It's going to be a really tight fight over there. And I also will have coverage from on the ground in La Crosse, Wisconsin. We'll see if Trump can bridge the gap over there, and will J.D. Vance on the ticket help. Action-packed stuff going on at the America First Warehouse. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com, and we'll see you next Tuesday.